Hello and welcome to another edition of Andy's Shed Live. This is Series 11, episode number 1 for Sunday the 11th of September 2022. Hello there everybody and welcome to the show. After week off last week and whatnot, we are now back, mad, bad and dangerous to know, for another season now. Right the way up to Christmas, or more or less all the way up to Christmas anyway. So yeah, we won't be far. My camera's a bit wonky. Hang on. Is that better? Have I straightened up a bit now? I think I probably have. Hope I have anyway. Let's see what is happening in the chat. Oh crikey, we've got a ton of people in the chat tonight. We've got Wesley, we've got Fat Hobbit. We've got Penfold, and it says, will we be seeing the Queen's Silver Jubilee telephone as a topical memorial tonight? You'll be pleased to know, absolutely not, no. Where it says, I was browsing eBay when I got notification, Mr. Hobbit. I'm not known for being early usually. Oh, you got the notification about the stream, did you? Oh, it's nice to know it goes out. I know somebody else gets it other than me. Yeah, we've got Sprig here as well. We've got Christopher here as well. Yeah, so we've got quite a few people. Remember, if you want to join in the chat, then feel free to. It's on YouTube, and if you are watching this live on YouTube, make sure you are actually live, because sometimes when you tune into a stream partway through, YouTube starts you from the beginning. So make sure you are actually live. Make sure you're up that way on your little timeline thing at the bottom as far as you can be, because sometimes when you tune into a live stream, if it's already been going half an hour, let's say, YouTube starts you at the beginning, so you're half an hour behind, and what you type in the chat doesn't make sense because it all happened half an hour ago. So just be aware of that if you are watching live, that YouTube sometimes starts you from the beginning. Thanks to BigClive.com for tipping me off about that. Also, good luck on YouTube to the Everyday Astronaut, who is doing a live stream for a rocket launch later today. In fact, I think he's probably on now, even as I speak. But he's been doing the Artemis launches. He bought a TV news broadcast van and fitted it out, spent thousands of dollars fitting it out, went to NASA to cover these Artemis launches and that are supposed to be going to the moon, and of course it's not gone twice because the rocket keeps springing a leak. So poor old Everyday Astronaut, he's not had much luck just lately, so good luck to Tim and all the Everyday Astronaut crew out there. If you don't know who they are, check them out, but after this. Right. What have we got to tell you at the moment? It's actually been a fairly quiet week for me this week. I've not really done much of anything at all. And no, it's not that I'm in mourning. It's just that, well, I don't know. It's been quiet really. But the coverage of the Queen, it's driving me absolutely potty at the moment. I do have to say though, sympathy of the week goes to Hugh Edwards of the BBC, who came on air on the day the Queen died, whatever day it was it Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. He came on air the day the Queen passed away. He came on air at 12:30 at lunchtime, or just after 12:30, and he was on air live without really anything to say, no script, and not a great deal of help from anybody until 8 o'clock that night. I felt really sorry for Hugh Edwards. So, well done, Hugh. Right, what have we got for you today? Well, I've just been finishing off stuff this week. I've just been sort of finishing off a few projects and things. I've been trying to get a lawnmower going. I've been trying to get a Suffolk Punch lawnmower going, and I've had terrible trouble trying to get into the magneto, because it's one of these things where you have to take the flywheel off of the engine to get at the magneto. And I tried all sorts to get the flywheel off, and then only when I put the whole mower up on a bench did I see actually cast in writing into the sort of mag cover thing that you need 1/4 inch UNC bolts to screw into it to sort of draw the cover off, and of course I haven't got any. I've got every size bolt under the sun except for them, so I had to buy some. So they've come, so now I can get on with my lawnmower and that. Nothing else has come this week. It's strange you should mention Jubilee phones, because I have bought a 776 this week, which is the thing that the Jubilee phone metamorphosed into. Yeah, I bought a brown one off eBay. The total, including postage, is £8 something. So that one was a bit of a bargain, I think. So what's everybody up to in the chat? Let's have a little look. Christopher says he might be getting a GEC 711. You put a bid on it, and the phone is in Australia. Well, that's always a good start when you're in Australia. It says it might be a railway one. Yeah, it probably is, actually. I'm not sure that they went to Australia, 711, so like general use. I don't know if they did or not. Perhaps New Zealand had some, but I don't know about Australia. Wesley says he didn't find any bargains on eBay. Not amongst the hydraulic presses anyway. He's looking for a hydraulic press. Oh, crikey. That sounds heavy. Wesley says, if you need any Balmoral blue casing to make slurry, then let me know. Why, have you broken one, Wesley? Have you broken a Jubilee phone? They went for the silver Jubilee, weren't they? Yeah. Because it's a very unusual colour. I actually quite like that colour, that really dark blue of the Jubilee phones. I think I have got one with a broken case, or with a partially broken case. So I might need to make some slurry. Yeah, might when I get around to it. Yeah, I vaguely remember that I've got one. But yeah. So we've got one or two things here. Oh, I went to Hedge Windmill last weekend. That's one of the reasons why I weren't on last weekend. I went to Hedge Windmill, and I got a very rare item from Hedge Windmill. Are you ready for the rare item that I got from Hedge Windmill? Are you ready? Are you all prepared for this? Let me get the camera in position, because it's good. This. Hang on, let me move that out of the way. Where can I put that? Put that over there. Right, are you ready for the thing that I got from Hedge Windmill? Alright, here we go. Brace yourselves. It's a light bulb. It's a proper ungreen light bulb. I can't believe it. It's what size is it? I can't read it on it. I think it says 100 watts at 240 volts on it, and apparently it came from Asda, this one. but it's a 100-watt filament clear light bulb, and these were famously used, or bulbs similar to these were famously used in a lot of street lights many years ago. So when I get my Esla street light going, this will be the bulb for it. But it's strange because I remember them as being actual physically bigger, the bulbs. This one isn't terribly physically big. But yeah, I got that from Hedge Windmill. I think about 50p or something from Hedge Windmill, off their stall that they have there, raising funds. So yeah, I got a rather nice heritage light bulb. So yeah, well, there aren't many of those about now. By the way, if you've got any clear light bulbs like this that have blown, do not throw them away. I'm collecting clear light bulbs, blown clear light bulbs, preferably the old filament type like this, but I think even LED ones will do, but they need to be clear ones, okay? Not, but yeah, I am after clear ones, even if they're blown and no good. I am after clear light bulbs for a little project that I'm about to embark on. More about that in the next few weeks. Right, has much happened in the way of telephones this week? No, not really. We've still got the trim phone that we did the other week. This one, that's still here. That is basically done-ish now. Yeah, and quite a nice phone. I'm still going through trim phone handsets and repairing them as a little contract job. I've still not got the centre for this though. For this, I still want the dial blank to go in the middle of this. It should have a dial blank, and I'm really struggling to find one. Now, Mr. Brickphone has got some, Andy at Nottingham. He has got some listed on his website, but he's not got black ones. So I might have to get a different colour and paint it. But it would be nice to get a black one if I could. So if anybody has got a 700 series dial blank in black, let me know please. This has got amazingly dusty in the not very long that it's been here. Black folks show up the dust, don't they? Says he dusting it quickly. They really do show up the rubbish, black telephones do. But yeah, and of course that's an upside down one as well, because it's got this thing on the switch hook there. On the hook there, like that, so it goes like that on your wall. It mounts to your wall. Plus it's got 2 feet knocked out at the top, so it hooks in there. You get that special T-bracket thing, or if you've not got the T-bracket, just 2 nails, 2 screws. I do it with raw plugs, 2 screws. Don't screw the screw quite all the way into the raw plug, and then just hang that over the head of the screws. That's the way I do it. Saves you having to spend about a tenner on one of those T-shaped things that they originally fitted to. So we're still looking for the bit of that to complete that little job. So that is still to be done. Right, let me just untangle myself. So yeah, we've still got that one. I have also got a humongous bag of handset caps to sort out as well at the moment. Wesley says he's not broken a Jubilee phone, but he has got a damaged case from one he purchased for spares. Penfold says, my 94-year-old mother-in-law has a cupboard full of incandescent light bulbs. She panic bought them all when she heard they would stop making them. Excellent. They'll probably be worth something in years to come. Wesley says, are you going to plant it? I was always told lamps light up and bulbs go in the ground. Alright, yeah, it's a lamp then. You see, no, I don't think it is a lamp. That. I think that's a light bulb. I think the thing it goes into is a lamp. Like a table lamp. You put a bulb in a table lamp. Or an angle poise lamp. So no, I don't think that is a lamp. I think that's a bulb. Ooh, right, let's have a vote on it. Let's have a vote on it. Right, I'm going to do it. I've never done this before. Right, we'll ask the community. So, we'll ask you. Is the thing that lights up a bulb? Right? Is it a bulb or is it a lamp? There's a poll running now in the chat. If anybody wants to have a go at it, feel free to have a go at it. Nobody's going to dare, are they? Nobody's going to dare do it. Is it a bulb? Oh, somebody's voted that it's a bulb. Yeah. So somebody says it's a bulb. Right. Well, I'll let it run for a few minutes, and we'll see what everybody else says. Wesley says it's a long-standing argument amongst professionals. Oh, Michael T's arrived. Hi, Michael. He says he'd say it's an envelope. What? So if that's a lamp, what is the thing it screws into? If that's a lamp. I think that's a bulb that goes in a lamp. That's what I think, but I wouldn't like to say for certain. I wouldn't like to say for certain. Oh, I've only got 75% now saying yes. Crikey! Right, I'll let it run for a minute or two, and then we'll have a little look at it. Christopher says, did you see the email on my 746 phone, my 4G backup phone line that I sent? No, I've not seen that, Christopher. No, I haven't seen that actually. It says he's got the old stock E27 240 volt incandescent light bulbs and railway new old stock 110 volt light bulbs. A lamp holder. The thing it screws into is a lamp holder. Right. So is it an angle poise lamp holder then? No, it's not. Of course it's not. It's an angle poise lamp that has a bulb in it. Sure it is. Gambo says it's a build. I think it's just Gambo spelling. It's a build, not a bulb. Autocorrect. Strikes again, yes. Penfold says the bulb doesn't screw into anything. It slots into the bayonet fitting unless you're from the USA. Well, no, there are quite a lot of screw bulbs about. I've got an angle poised lamp that has a screw-in bulb in. Or a screw-in lamp in, if you like. I'll start something now. Yeah, I've got an angle poised lamp that has a screw in, and I went to try and buy some LED bulbs. I've just put some outside lights up, some kind of traditional sort of carriage light things near the front door here, and I went to try and buy some light bulbs from Wilko's today for them, and it's amazing how many of the bulbs on the shelf in Wilko's are screw-in, not bayonet. You have to be careful. At least half of them are screw-in. You have to be really careful you pick the right one up. Penfold says the complete unit, bulb and light fitting, is a lamp. Yes, I'll give you that. Yes, the complete thing is a lamp, and the thing the bulb goes into is a lamp. Because you might say, my lamp needs a new bulb in it. You don't say, my lamp needs a new lamp in it, do you? Wesley says, Edison screw bulbs are fairly common over here. Yeah, and they seem to be getting more common as well, Wesley. I prefer them. I prefer screw-in bulbs. Because when you're sort of teetering about on the top of a step ladder trying to change a bulb in a light fitting or something, you know, you never quite know if you get that, if you've got it the right way around to get the little pegs on the bayonet fitted in the right place, or if you're somehow screwing up the bulb holder. Yeah, you never quite know. It'd be far better just to screw them in, I think. Yeah, it's another thing the Americans did right, that is. And also, the act of screwing it in means you can tighten it up and loosen it. You don't have to have them springy things that you're pushing against in it so much. So, yeah, America wins again with that. Christopher says he just resent the 746 his 4G phone line in the mail. Yeah, it might take it a while to get here, Christopher, because my email is not instant all the time. It sometimes takes a while for them to arrive. Penfold says a gas lamp has a filament and burner. It has to be a whole unit to be a functioning lamp. Yeah, to be a functioning lamp it has to be a whole unit. Just trying to think what the filament is in a gas lamp. Don't gas lamps have mantles? All the ones I've got have got mantles. Whereas it says Sparkies go lamping up, not bulbing up. Yeah, what have we started here with this? Do they not go lighting up, or is that something else? I think this is going to run and run forever, isn't it? Right. We'll end the poll. That's it. Is this thing that lights up a bulb? Is this a bulb? 80% of you said yes, it's a bulb. 20% said no, it's not a bulb. So the ayes have it, I think. Penfold says the bayonet fitting has two live and neutral separate at the bottom. The outer bayonet part is an earth fitting. Is that so? How do the Americans not earth them then? The Americans must not earth them because theirs are all screw-in, aren't they? So their bulbs must not be earthed. or they've got some kind of clever ring thing on the bottom that, you know, an extra contact. No, Penfold says the US screw fitting is just live and neutral. Ah. Yeah, I can't help get the feeling we overcomplicate electrical things a bit in this country. Right. Sockets, you know, electrical sockets and that. We have a switch on ours and 3 pins, and in America they sort of have 2 pins and no switch, just plug it into the wall, don't they? But they do only run on 110 volts or 120 volts, don't they, as opposed to our 240 or 230 or whatever it is these days. Where it says line and neutral, strictly speaking, both line and neutral are live conductors. Yes, yes, it's a bit like the overhead wires for trolley buses. They're very strange how they work, because if you have a tram, if you think about a tram and the wire that it collects its electricity from, a tram only has one live wire overhead, because the other side of the circuit, the other side of the motors in the tram, is the wheels going out through the rail, the metal wheels on the rail. So the overhead for a tram is live at about 550 volts DC normally, sometimes higher on modern systems, but traditionally it's live at about 550 volts DC, the overhead for a tramway. Now, a traditional trolley bus also runs on about 550 volts DC. Its motors are about 550 volt DC motors, but there's no earth through the tracks, obviously, because it's got rubber tyres, a trolley bus. So there's 2 wires running about that far apart, literally that far apart, above the vehicle, and it's got 2 poles on the top. And you would think that one of those is 550 volts and the other one is ground, wouldn't you? Yeah, that would be logical. But that's not the case. One of them is about plus 225 volts and the other one is about minus 225 volts relative to ground. So across the 2 it's about 550 volts, but if one of those wires comes down, or if somebody working on the line is unlucky enough to bridge the insulator and touch one, you only get a sort of 225 volt shock, not a 550 volt shock. So you only get half the electric shock, and that's why they do it like that. Yeah, don't throw your connecting cable over a trolleybus wire if you want 500 volts, because you only get 225 or something like that. Yes, but a tramway, you can hook something over the wire and put the other end in the track, and between them you've got about 550 volts, because I have seen that done with a welder, with a big electric welder and a bamboo pole, and one connection for the big electric welder on the far end of the bamboo pole, and the other connection on like a magnetic thing you stick onto the tram track. So you stick that one on the tram track, get your bamboo pole with this sort of copper hook on the end, hook that over the wire, and that's got a cable coming down to the welder, and that's how you run your welder off a tram track. I've seen it done. I'm sure health and safety would have something to say about it now, but that's how they used to do it to do welding on a tramway. Penfold says the US uses 110 volts AC at 60 Hz. We use 230 volts AC at 50 Hz. I'm sure we used to use 240 volts AC. When did? But it somehow stole 10 volts somewhere along the line. Where it says you run the risk of arcing when making a connection to an unswitched socket. Yeah, good point, I'll give you that. Penfold says it depends on your supply. The neutral can also be your earth. And where it says unless it's IT neutral, will nearly always be an earth. Just depends if it's TT, TNS or TNCS. The bit that will always be the distribution network and never on the other side of a cutout. Right. Alright. I feel we've suddenly got a lot of electrical engineers in here. Christopher says Melbourne trams run on 600 volts DC. And when I went on W8 class tram, it cut out all the time. Yes, I say 550 volts DC nominally for a tram, but in reality it's somewhere between 500 and 600 normally for a traditional tram. The very early Blackpool trams, things like Rack 2 at Cryche and Box 40, which I think is now at Cryche, from the Blackpool and Fleetwood Tram Road Company before the corporation took them over, they were designed to run on 500 volts. And because they're now running on roughly 550, sometimes almost 600, that's why they're rather quick. But the motors and all the control gear is so chunky, they don't really mind having that extra up to 100 volts shoved through them. Now, when they were testing one of the Jubilee cars in Blackpool in the late 70s, early 1980s, I don't know if it was 761 or 762, I've got a feeling it was 761. They were testing it late one night and it blew a fuse on the promenade. So they reset it, because it was one of these breakers, one of these switchable breakers. They reset it, went a bit further, it blew out again. Reset it, went a bit further, it blew out again. They looked all over the tram trying to find out what the problem was, couldn't find any issue with the tram at all, but it kept blowing this breaker out. Then somebody had the foresight to check the supply that the tram was getting, and it turned out it was getting 750 volts DC. and that's because it was running on its own at night, nothing else was running. So the substations and that were powering the line, and they'd only got this one tram drawing power, but they hadn't thought to decrease what the substations were making, because they'd only got one tram on the network, and because it was 2 o'clock in the morning, there was 750 volts DC going through the wires. It should have had about 550. So yes, but it does make your eyes light up if you touch it. It does. I have had an electric shock off a tram, and yeah, it makes you jump. Christopher says the 110 volt incandescent light bulbs are for the Red Rattler train and the tram. Yes, because you have 110 volt bulbs. This is where you get your 550 volts, you see. You have a 110 volt bulb, and you put 5 of them in series and then connect it up to your 550 volt supply. So you always have, in traditional trams and Red Rattler trains as well, it seems, and various other things, you have 110 volt light bulbs and you have 5 of them in series, and normally you have them down one side of the saloon. You might have 5 down that side of the saloon, another 5 down that side of the saloon, another 5 down that side of the top deck. If it's a double decker, another 5 down that side of the top deck. Not always though. Sometimes they're wired weird, so there's like one there, one up there, one over there, and one on a platform somewhere, that all come on together on one switch. Some of the trams at Crouch are very weird when you throw a switch. You know, just random light bulbs seem to come on. I'm just reading the chat. Where it says, what length of tramways do they need to squirt the DC on the tram lines in isolation every so often to counter voltage drop? Yes, Wesley, they do. It's all common return, so the track is all together. Basically, the track is all bonded together for the whole tramway system, but they have electrical substations normally about every 3, 4, maybe 5 miles closer together in hilly places, or in busy places, and the overhead wire has got insulated bits in it, because if you get it very wrong when you're driving a tram and you stop in the wrong place, you can stop with your trolley pole or your pantograph on the insulator, and then you can't get going again because you've got no power, because there's a bit about that long that is made out of some insulating material. I'm not sure what they make it out of actually. I think it's some sort of ceramic. So there's a hard bit in the overhead, so a bit of wire joins on there, bit of wire joins on there, and then there's this hard bit that is an insulator, and it has to be that long so nothing can sort of arc across it. But yeah, they have electricity substations with big glowy mercury arc rectifiers and things like that in every 3 or 4 miles or so normally, and that will supply the tramway in sections. But if you've got a busy section that's got a lot of trams on it, that'll be a shorter section supplied by one substation, because obviously if you've got a lot of trams all moving about, they're drawing a lot of power, and voltage drop as well is a massive problem with DC. So the sections can be very short. In hilly places like Sheffield, they used to have the electricity substations very close together, because they had a lot of trams back to back and some very steep hills, so they needed a lot of power in certain places. So your electricity substations might only be half a mile apart. But yeah, it's a skill. When you're driving a tram, you have to know where these insulated sections are. There's normally some kind of sign or a marking on one of the traction poles that tells you that you're sort of passing under an insulator, but you can get it very, very wrong if you get stuck on an insulator. Very wrong indeed, and it has happened. If any of you are familiar with the Tramway Museum at Crouch, that's in sections. Now let me remember this right. There's a section from Townend to somewhere at the side of the depot fan there. Then there's a section from there to the north side of Wadebridge, and there's a section from there to the top end. I'm trying to think if there's another insulator at Quarry Approach on that line, and then the depot fan is on another section as well, and then each road in the depot is on a separate a separate feed that's got a big knife switch, so you can turn the depot power off if you want to work on one of the trams, because the wire is low down in the depot. So if you're on one of the open toppers and you want to go upstairs while it's in the depot, you turn the power off. Southampton 45, that used to go under Bargate Arch in Southampton, has a wonderful sign on the top deck that says on it something like, "When passing under Bargate Arch, passengers must refrain from standing and touching the overhead wire. Penalty 40 shillings or something like that." I think if a passenger stood up and touched the overhead wire, I don't think they'd be in any fit state to be giving anybody 40 shillings. Christopher says he's filmed tram pantographs arcing. Yeah, they arc for various reasons. They arc if you draw power over an insulator. It can arc because obviously the pantograph is going from a powered bit of wire onto a non-powered bit of overhead, and so as it goes onto the non-powered bit, it will draw an arc. Another reason they sometimes arc is because the wire is dirty. So if that's a bit of overhead that's not been used for a long time, the tram comes along and the wire's dirty, and it will draw an arc then, because it's got intermittent contact, just like your model railway. You know how your little Oldby train stutters along sometimes because the track's dirty. It's exactly the same problem. There is a story about a guy, one of the pioneers of tramway preservation in the UK, a guy called Keith Terry, and in the very early 1960s, or no, it must have been late 50s, because the Sheffield tramway closed in September 1960. No, it actually closed on 8th of October 1960. I think it was the last tram run in Sheffield. So it could have been 1960, but I think it's more likely late 50s. But anyway, Keith Terry organised a rail tour on the Sheffield tramway system, and they used a lot of track that hadn't been used for a long time, because a lot of bits of the system had been abandoned already. There were just a couple of routes still left running, and this tram came along, full of people, full of tram enthusiasts, and all of a sudden it stopped. All the lights went out, and they looked up, and the trolley was still on the wire, so that was all fine. And they realised what had happened was they were on a piece of dirty track. So the earth return to the track wasn't returning. You know, the dirt had insulated the wheels from the track. Now, when this happens, the whole body of the tram can become live, because the power's got nowhere to go, sort of thing. No way to complete the circuit, and it tries to find the shortest route, so it goes to the body of the tram. So what you are supposed to do under those circumstances, you are supposed to jump off the tram, and I mean jump, not step, because the idea is you need to lose contact with the tram before you make contact with the ground. Otherwise, that 550 volts might go through you. So the idea is to jump off the tram, then get hold of the insulated rope, or get a bamboo pole that is hanging on a traction pole somewhere on the system. Do not use the one attached to the side of the tram, and pull the trolley pole down, and then the tram becomes safe. That's the official way of doing it. Now, there are a couple of unofficial ways of doing it and getting the tram going again, because that just makes the tram safe. It doesn't get it going again. The unofficial way of getting it going again is jump off the tram, go and get a bucket of water from somewhere, or better still, a bucket of oil, throw it under the tram, and that will hopefully both wash away the dirt, and also water and oil are relatively good conductors, and hopefully that will give it enough conductivity to get the thing moving again. That's one way of doing it. If you've got no water or anything, or a large can of WD-40, if you've got nothing like that, then there is another way of doing it. All the trams carry a metal bar, which is about, maybe 4 or 5 foot long, sometimes longer, which they use for changing the points. It's like a crowbar. You literally put it in the points and pull the points over with it. This metal bar, you can use that for getting the tram going again, that's become isolated from the track, that's become insulated. And the idea is, what you do, you jump off the tram with your metal bar, you then wedge one end of this point iron in the track in front of the tram, in the groove of the track in front of the tram, and then as hard as you can you scrape the other end of the bar across the fender of the tram, yeah, to scrape the paint off the fender, scrape the paint off the point iron, and then the 550 volts goes through the fender, down through the point iron, and down into the track, yeah. The key to this is you put the thing in the track, then scrape it across the fender of the tram to make the circuit, and even though you've got hold of it, you'll not feel much of anything, if anything at all, because it would rather go through the nice steel point iron than go through you. Keith Terry did it wrong. Keith Terry put it on the tram before he touched it on the track. He woke up across the other side of the moor, about 20 foot from where the tram was, apparently. But he didn't live to tell the tale, but it did flirt him across the street. So that's a well-known story among tramway people. But yeah, but he lived to tell the story, because I met Keith Terry, and I worked with him on the vintage trams at Christ on many an occasion, and also had a brilliant guided tour of Beamish with the chap as well. He much missed is Keith Terry. He was a great guy. One of the pioneers of tramway preservation, but he did do some very funny, actually quite dangerous, but funny things in the early days of tramway preservation. Wesley says, I've only ever been on Blackpool trams. That will be going back 30 odd years, though, since I've been on one. Very fond memories. Yeah, they've upgraded them now to modern trams, Wesley, and they're horrible. There are still some of the old trams left, but not many, and they don't run very often. But the main part of the service is done by horrible modern things now, like they have everywhere else. Blackpool's kind of lost its appeal because of it. Penfold says the Edinburgh and Sheffield trams are fantastic. Yeah, I can't really get excited about these modern ones. I don't like them. The Sheffield ones are actually getting quite old now. I believe the ones in Sheffield are now the oldest trams in everyday service in the country now, I believe, the ones in Sheffield. Where he says, is there a carbon contact or something? Sometimes there's a carbon skid On the wire, sometimes there's a carbon skid. There's a little shoe thing that has a carbon insert in it, and the shoe sort of cups the wire and presses up on the wire, so that the carbon shoe is what actually makes the main part of the contact. And then you change the carbon, you change the bits of carbon in them every now and again. On ones with the pantograph, the pantograph's got what they call a rubbing plate on the top, and that has got a bar of carbon across it. And in Blackpool, the bar of carbon is actually 3 pieces of carbon, because when you have pantograph only trams on your system, you make the overhead wire so it zigzags a bit, so it rubs across this carbon thing, because if you make your wire dead straight, it wears a groove in the carbon skid. So you want your wire to zigzag a bit. Now in Blackpool they still run some trolleys with that have got like phosphor bronze wheels on, and that's how they make contact. But if you zigzag your wire and you've got a trolley pole, it makes a trolley pole whip and do this as a tram's going along, and eventually it comes off. So their wire has to be straight in Blackpool. And for that reason the carbon skids are in 3 sections, because when it wears down the centre carbon first, they can just change the centre one, and they're a bit tight, you see, so they don't change the outer ones, they just change the centre one, so they're in 3 bits. They actually make their own pantographs as well in Blackpool, or at least they did until the new trams came along. I assume they got the new pantographs with the new trams, but they did used to make the pantographs in Blackpool. Well, he says, all this reminds me of stories I used to hear about old hands who had problems with party lines. It was often the earth rod having a high resistance. Yeah. They used to throw a bucket of water on the earth rod. There was another method used to dampen the rod if water wasn't available. I'll leave it to your imagination. Right. Okay. I would have thought that would corrode the rod more than dampen it, Wesley. Christopher says, tram drivers turn off the line breaker before they do the point with the bar. Yeah, that's probably just to stop anybody stealing the tram. There's no reason to turn the breaker out before you change the points. No reason for that. Probably just to stop anybody pinching the tram. I did steal a tram once. A Blackpool double-decker. There were a lot of drunk people on the top deck who all worked for the tramway, all having a sing-along. Not in Blackpool, I hasten to add. This was at another museum somewhere, and all these people were sat on the top deck of this tram, all having a George Formby style sing-along with a George Formby impersonator, and the tram was out on the line in this museum, and me and another chap just thought, well, they're all sat up there in the dark, 'cause it was night time. It was evening, it was like it is now, it was dusk, and they got the lights on this tram, and they're all sat doing this, having a sing-along with this George Formby impersonator, all the people from this museum. And we thought, well, we might as well actually take them for a ride. So we snuck off and got the key for the tram, because there is a thing called a key that you put in the controllers. So we went and got the key for the tram and that, and we just sort of took the brakes off and let it roll. We were on it to control it, of course. But just let it roll away into the woods. And I don't think half the people realised it even moved. They were that K-line. He came down the stairs and found they weren't where they started. Chris says he sent an email showing his old light bulb. Wait, he said, do you mean your old lamp, Christopher? Don't start again. Don't. No. Right, let's see if Christopher's emails have arrived, shall we? Where are we? Let's have a little look. Thunderbird Mail. Right. Oh, they've all come twice, Christopher. I'm not quite sure why that is. Oh, you said, yeah, yes. I read this, Christopher. I didn't see the photograph, but yeah, I did read this. Chris says, "Hi Andy." He says, a little bit of a question about 746s. Do you know if the GPO ever issued 746 telephones to office blocks and apartment stores hooked up to a PBX unit, where you dial 9 for the outside line? He says, because I got a 746L a while back, and it's got an original dial label which has an internal extension number and also an exchange line number. Right, well, I think the simple answer to that one question, Christopher, simply is yes, they did. Yeah, they did. And they also had things, remember, called the house exchange system and the home exchange system, where you could have, I think it was up to 3 phones linked together. So that they did that as well, but I think they had bigger, well, they did have bigger switchboard systems, but I don't know what they did with PBXs. Of course, later they had PBX than that, because I've got one here, BT Revelation. Yes, I think the answer is yes, they did. And also, you have to be a bit careful with phones, because sometimes what you think is actually a GPO phone or a telecom phone, even though it's got GPO and telecom markings on it, it might not have actually been delivered to them by the company that made it. So let's say Ericsson made it, and Ericsson making, I don't know, a batch of 10,000 746s for the post office, and Ericsson also got a private customer wanting maybe 100 746s to go on a PBX. There's a production line stamping them all, you know, post office, stamping all the capacitors and things with post office markings and that. And then they realised they're short of a few for this private customer. What do? They go and take some off that post office production line, so the private customer gets some phones that are marked post office on them. So yeah, that can happen, but I wouldn't have thought that would happen with dial labels though. So I would say yes, the GPO did do system installs and that. I don't think they did it for private companies and things. I think they did it for people like the BBC, folks like that. But yeah, if you'd like to have a look at Christopher's phone, I will see if I can show it to you. There it is. That's what is that the one that got dropped, Christopher, and cracked the case? Because that was a grey one, wasn't it? A Mark 1 746 in grey. Because if it is, either it didn't crack the case much, or you've done a terrific repair job on that. Because that doesn't look broken at all. In fact, it's quite a nice example, that one. I quite like that one. Grey's not generally my favourite colour, but that one looks quite good. Cool, right. And you sent us something else, didn't you? New old stock incandescent light bulbs. Ah, they're not though, are they? Oh, them two might be. Right, well, have a little look at those, hang on. So there's a couple of the light bulbs that Christopher's got. Upside down. But you get the idea. They're good boxes. They look like really old ones, actually, those. Is there a date on them, Christopher? They look sort of 1940s or 1950s, they do. The Mazda vacuum lamp. How brilliant's that? And then it's also got these, but these are more monks. These are actually halogen lamps. I have actually just put one of these in the light that I've just put up outside. It looks like an ordinary clear light bulb, but actually it's got a halogen bulb inside the globe of the normal bulb. So yeah, they're halogen ones. And there's one in a fantastic old light fitting as well, actually, that. I like the light fitting. Is that a halogen, that one that's lit there, Christopher? That looks like a halogen, that one. But yes, very good. I like it. Somebody else on here collects light bulbs, don't they? Who is it? Own up now if it's you. So somebody else on here collects light bulbs. Is it you, Gambo? Collects light bulbs? I know somebody said they collected light bulbs, but I just can't remember who. It's off the top of my head. But yeah, that's really good. That, yeah. None of this plastic LED bulb rubbish that you get these days. Got some plastic LED bulbs, so I don't know what I've done with them. They were rolling around on this desk for ages, and I moved them the other day because believe it or not, I actually had a tidy up here the other day. It doesn't show, does it? But I did. But yeah. But yes, because I altered a plastic LED light bulb. I changed a capacitor in one to make it slightly less bright, but use a lot less power and last for a much longer time because it won't burn out. Because these LED bulbs you get these days are made to fail, a lot of them, because they're running at sort of 100% power all the time. And it's best not to. It's best to put more LEDs in the bulb and have it running at like 80% of power, but because you've got more LEDs in, it's brighter. You know, and that's better, but they don't do that except in Dubai. Again, bigclive.com on YouTube, do a search on his videos for the Dubai lamp, and you'll find out the scam that they pull in the UK to make you keep buying LED bulbs, and how they basically engineer them to blow, which they're not doing in Dubai. And Philips are making different light bulbs just to sell to Dubai than they are to the rest of the world. Yes, it's a bit of a scam. It's a bit like Who Killed the Electric Car. Can you remember that? That's a great documentary. If you find that online, Who Killed the Electric Car? All about electric cars in America. But the thing is, it's electric cars in America about 20 years ago, and how they got rid of them all. Right, okie dokie. Right, I think we are about there for today. Daniel James G says, I'm 45 minutes behind. What is your process for painting phones? He says. I don't generally paint them, Daniel, but that doesn't mean you can't. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but in the UK, phones were never painted by the original operators, i.e. the GPO, Telecom, BT, whatever you want to call it. Phones were never painted in the UK because I think they thought the paint would chip, or it would get scratched, or it would just flake off, and then they'd have to send an engineer out and change the phone. And because the phones were rented on a monthly basis from the phone company, they didn't want to have to keep sending engineers out to change phones that had got a bit scuffed. So they never painted phones. What they used to do when a phone came in for refurbishing was completely change the case for a new one. Now in America they didn't do that. In America they refurbished the cases. They either did acetone misting to get all the cracks out of the cases, all the little scuffs and things out of the cases, you know, little scratches and things. They put them in a machine that put them through like an acetone heavy fog that just melted the outside of the case just enough to even out any little scratches and things on it. But in America they did also paint phones, and I've got a couple of, I've got at least one. I think I've got a couple that have been painted, but they were painted by the phone companies, by Bell and that, in America, when they were refurbished, and often completely different colour to what the phone was originally. They didn't like take, let's say, a red phone and then paint it red because it had got a bit grotty. They might take a blue phone and paint it red. It really changed the colour massively. And strangely, that paint doesn't seem to come off. It, you know, whatever process they had for doing those paint jobs, it really has lasted well. You have to take the covers off the phones even now and look on the inside to see what colour they originally were, because there's no sign of it on the outside, no scratches or blisters or anything on the outside of them. So if you're thinking paint might be an inferior finish, there are ways of doing it that do make it stick and do make it work. And these American phones that have been painted look really, really good. Now I am at the moment restoring a load of trim phone handsets for somebody who is going to paint a load of trim phones and sell them. So there'll be original trim phones in funky new colours, and I'm repairing handsets for him for that at the moment, because you can't get spare parts for trim phones, and the handsets break. But they are going to be painted, and I'm not quite sure what his process is going to be for making sure the paint sticks to the plastic. I will ask and find out. So I don't generally paint them, but having said that, I may have to paint a dial blank to go in the middle of this, because getting a black dial blank for one of these is proving quite difficult. So I might have to paint one of those. Put that back down there. Okie dokie. Right. I shall go back to the old chat. Going back to Christopher's light, Wesley says, I've not seen fittings like that over here. I've seen those chain operator fittings on American TV shows though. Yeah, I think we did have them over here a bit, but I think it was a long time ago. I think they've all kind of gone. But I think they were around in the early days of electricity. Christian says, did 4G back phone line mail show on your mail? Don't think it's sent. I don't know, Christopher. I'll tell you in a minute. Hang on. 4G backup phone. Yes, it's here, Christopher. It's here. I can show everybody. Show them that. So this is phone running over 4G. So I'm guessing that is the thing on the sort of top left there. I'm guessing is like a 4G router thing. What they call them? It's not MiFi, is it? It's a router that doesn't connect to your phone line. It goes out over 4G over the mobile network, so you can basically take it anywhere. And it looks like Christopher's made up some sockets and things so you can plug an ordinary phone in, and indeed he has, and he's plugged this 746 into it, which is rather good. Nice red one. So yeah, so it arrived, Christopher. It arrived. Right, what was I doing? I was going through this, wasn't I? Where she says, top marks if you can recall what ISIS or ISIS stands for. Isn't it something to do with Afghanistan? But he says it's Inland Services Information System. I thought it was something to do with Afghanistan. Yeah, Penfold says that it was as well. Yeah, he thought it was something to do with Afghanistan. Wesley says about painting the phone, he says they must surely key the plastic to let the paint grab. They must do something, Wesley, but I'm not sure what they do. Perhaps they put it through an acetone mist to make it tacky and then paint it. I don't know. Wesley says my old dad with his dodgy wiring into the shed had a similar fitting, but it had a side button to turn the lamp on and off. Sorry, bulb on and off. That's going back to Christopher's lamp there, bulb, whatever it is, light fitting. Yeah. But yeah, we've run the gamut of things today, haven't we? We've gone from telephones to trams to light bulbs and all kinds of stuff today. We've done. But yes. Yeah, like I say, it's been a quiet week anyway, so yeah, it's been a bit random today. But that's probably about as far as we are going to go for today, because it's time for me to go and have my Sunday night pizza. Don't know about anybody else, but I'm a bit starving Marvin at the moment, so yeah. Right, I'll try and shut all that. Thanks to everybody who has taken part today. Remember, if you want to take part yourself, you can. If you want to get in touch with us and you don't know how to, the easiest way to do it, at least initially, is through the website, andyshed.coldpress.net. You'll find a contact us form on there. You can get in touch with me by filling that in and pressing the little send thing on it. Also remember, if you want to continue to chat all things telephones and trams and light bulbs and God knows what else after we've gone off air, you can at our forum. It's here at gpotelephones.proboards.com. And if you like what you see here, and I might as well do this while I'm doing all the rest of it, if you like what you see here and you want to support the show, and we're into our 11th season now of Andy's Shed Life. I can't believe we're into like season 11. Where did that go? But yeah, if you want to support us for as little as £1 a month, you can do that by joining us on Patreon. And the link to Patreon is here, www.patreon.com/AndyShed. And thanks to those folks who already do support us on Patreon. and there will be some Patreon only stuff coming quite soon as well that we're working on at the moment. Right, that is about as far as we go for today. I'll say a big thank you to everybody for taking part, or even just for watching and just for being there. If you've not done so already, remember, do the YouTube thing, hit like, hit subscribe. Yeah, I know everybody says it and you're fed up of it, but I only say it once. But do it, please. Hit those little button things, because it does help. It doesn't just help us here, but what it helps is it helps YouTube decide to push the video out to more people, so we can hopefully grow the audience that way. I'll just do one last check on the chat. Looks like Dominic's here as a late comer. He says, sorry I'm late. Sad news about EMR. No, ER. Thought the East Midland Railways had gone kaput then for a minute. No, E11R is written. She was an avid 746 user. She was indeed. Her photo using her Ivory 746 has appeared on this show before. It says, I'm up at my grandmother's at the moment repairing her phone. Oh cool, what sort of phone she got, Dominic? I'm hoping it's going to be something interesting, like a candlestick. But apparently, well, one thing to come out of the departure of the Queen, one side bit of information that I've heard is that Buckingham Palace is having a major refit. You know, it's in the process at the moment of all being done up, and they're doing all the plumbing and that and making it work. I hope they're not going to give them new telephones. No, and if they do give them new telephones, where is the Queen's Ivory 746 going? That's what I want to know. It might be worth getting in touch with Buckingham Palace. Come on, somebody with nothing to do, get right into Buckingham Palace and ask them what's happening to the telephones after the refit, and let's see if we can get hold of the Buckingham Palace 746. Christopher says, I have to use a telephone pulse to tone converter with my 4G backup phone. Yes, you might. Dominic says grandmother's phone is nothing interesting. It's a cheap and nasty G-Mark amplifier phone. Ugh. I'm tempted to give her a hard of hearing equipped 746. My old mum has one of those, and it's the only phone she can hear people on. Yeah, she has got a hard of hearing equipped 746, with the handset with a little wheel on, and it's the only phone that she can comfortably hear people on. Even mobile phones turned up loud, she can't hear them on it, but she can on a 746. There's just something different about the way the sound comes through it, and yeah, she's really pleased with the 746, and that. Paul says, is it with the neon handset, Dominic? Or my one's not got the neon handset. It amazes me that they put the amplifier and the neon handset in the same handset, because that's a lot of things to stuff into that handset that's not really designed to have things stuffed into it. But yeah, I've got neon ones and I've got ones with the amplifier, but I don't think I've got any with both. But I do want some more neon ones actually for the radio station. So yeah, I do want some more of those neon handsets. I also want to know where you get the neon bulbs from to go in a neon handset, and how you get the bulb in there and out again. There must be a way of doing it. There must be a way of changing those neons, but I don't know what it is. If anybody knows, let me know. no, it says, yeah, and a large numeral bezel as well. Yeah, you can have a large numeral bezel, a neon flashy light, and an amplifying handset. That would be a phone nobody could miss then, wouldn't it? Yeah, make one up, Dominic. Make one up. Create one. He says it would need rotor tone now a local bank has closed. No, you don't necessarily need a rotor tone to do the banking. You just need one of those little touchpad things that makes the tones, and you hold it to the handset of the phone and key the numbers in. And beep 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 beep, and the phone hears the numbers and does it. Christopher says he's not used a DTMF button phone for 5 years. No, I don't often actually. The only one I do is my mobile. Oh, by the way, my new mobile phone has arrived. You'll like this, my telephone people. And it's not a BlackBerry. It looks like a BlackBerry, but it's not a BlackBerry. What is it? It looks like a BlackBerry, but it's not a BlackBerry. It's a thing called a Unihertz Titan, and it's extremely heavy. Tell you something, if I get mugged, I'm going to hit them with this. Because Wesley says he suspects the neons won't have been intended to have been replaceable. So you think they'd probably replace the whole handset, do you, Wesley? Yeah, possibly. Penfold says, is it a gooseberry phone? No, it's a Unihertz Titan. Somebody ought to make a phone called a gooseberry, didn't they? One that doesn't work. Call it a gooseberry. See if they could sell it on eBay. New gooseberry phone. Spares or repair. And then just have like a plastic block that you send to people. It's shaped vaguely like a phone. Yes. Christopher says he only uses 1967 746. Dominic says this touchscreen really bugs me. Always spelling my worms on it. Yes. What really bugs me about mobile phones and touchscreens is when they change the word you've written. And you know what you want to write, but the phone insists on changing it to something else. And no, I want to put this, not that. And it insists on changing it. Or it insists on putting a capital letter where you don't want a capital letter. Or insists on not putting a capital letter where you do want a capital letter. Where you're going to put your email into something, it insists in changing the first letter of your email to a capital. No, it needs to be a small letter. Right, rant over. Wesley says he thinks the neon is not changeable. He says, is the cover not glued in? I think the cover's glued in, Wesley, but I was thinking you maybe got it out from the end, the neon. You know, you sort of pulled it through somehow from the end. Wesley says, I received a red 746L since the last broadcast. Did you now? Now that's all the good things together, that, because it's a 746L, which means it's an early one, and it's red. So that will be quite a desirable one. Yeah, that's a nice one. That one. Assuming it's a genuine one, of course, and not one that somebody's put a reproduction dial bezel on, which they so often do. Right, okie dokie. I think that is about as far as we go for today. Like I say, I've got to go and have my Sunday night pizza. We will be back here next week. It will be 6:30 again next week, because I'm off to Arkwright's Mill at Cromford with a stationary engine next Sunday. So if you're in the area, this means you, Dominic. If you're in the area, Arkwright's Mill between about 10 a.m. and about 3 p.m. next Sunday. You can see us live with a vintage stationary engine. Just before we go, Penfold says you can change the neon. I got one off eBay for my handset 17, amplifier and neon. And Dominic says it took me forever to find a genuine alphanumeric bezel for my red phone. Yeah, I bet it did. I bet it did, because I don't think I've ever seen one for sale as a spare part. Christopher says it'd be cool to get a rare Ericsson N1970B telephone in yellow. I don't know if they did them in yellow or not. And Dominic says, have a great week all. He's heading to the Isle of Man tomorrow. Mind the trams, Dominic. Yeah. Isle of Man is excellent. It's a great place, the Isle of Man. Yeah. Yeah. Have a little trip up Snaefell. You'll like it up there. Right, we will be off. Wesley says he's going to wave to you, Dominic. He says it's only across the water from me. Are you in Blackpool then, Wesley? Where are you? Blackpool, St Anne's, Fleetwood. You must be somewhere in that area then. Yeah, crikey. Right, we're going anyway. I will see you all next week. Remember, 6:30. Dominic says you might be going up Snaefell on the tram, so I'll look out for you, Wesley. Penfold says, see you later, everyone, and I will second that. We will see you next week at 6:30. Same time, same place for another edition of Andy's Shed Live. In the meantime, remember Patreon, the website, and also the forum, and we will see you next time. Bye for now, everybody.